What up, world? Established Rich coming right back at you. Let me tell y'all a story. When crack hit, it changed everything. It was not just a drug, it was a complete shift in the power and respect dynamic. Teenagers started making more money than their own parents. A 15-year-old could bring in thousands, while his father came home with hundreds. The same father who once provided now watched his son pay the bills. The same mother who once held the family together is now asking her son for a hit. Respect changed because age no longer meant authority. Money spoke louder than wisdom, and the households were turned upside down. Once the elders lost the power, the family lost structure. Once the family lost structure, the community collapsed. Even if you never touched a pipe, you felt the effects of it in your house.
A former DEA agent says he has proof the CIA smuggled cocaine into the United States to aid the Nicaraguan Contras.
That former agent believes a lot of that cocaine wound up on the streets of South Central Los Angeles. And Al Naipo joins us now with the latest on the alleged CIA and Contra drug scandal.
And that agent has a lot to say about that. Well, John, Celerino Castillo, a former DEA agent, says he has the proverbial smoking gun, evidence the U.S. government peddled drugs in the name of ridding Nicaragua of communism.
There is a lot of evidence I have to show, but the problem is nobody's caught me.
Celerino Castillo, a Vietnam veteran and former Drug Enforcement Administration agent, claims he has hard evidence linking the Central Intelligence Agency to cocaine trafficking involving Nicaraguan Contras it supported in Central America. But no government agency will talk about his charges.
They know I'm the missing link to this whole thing. I'm the one that can put the CIA involvement in narcotics trafficking, not only with the crack out of L.A., but with the support that they gave to the Contras.
Castillo spent 13 years as a frontline soldier in the war on drugs. He fought most of his battles in Central America. Upon Castillo's arrival there in 1985, he says a fellow agent advised him that the CIA-backed Contras were smuggling thousands of kilos of cocaine into the U.S. in an apparent drugs for arms deal to aid the Nicaraguan rebels' fight to overthrow the communist regime. Castillo claims the CIA operated 2 hangars at the Ilopango military air base in El Salvador, the alleged hub for many cocaine flights in Central America, but not all.
Not only out of Ilopango, they were flying out of Guatemala, they were flying out of Honduras. We refuel a lot of planes loaded with cocaine that were never intercepted in the U.S. and undercover operations with the cartels.
Castillo says he took more than 3,000 photos of the alleged CIA Contra drug operation and also kept a journal containing drug flights, the names of pilots, and their plane numbers.
So we get a lot of good stuff here.
Castillo did this on his own, in addition to his job tracking down drug traffickers in El Salvador and Guatemala. Castillo says he complained to his DEA bosses, writing several reports, but that no action was ever taken and that he was discouraged from continuing his private surveillance. DEA officials declined to comment since the allegations are part of a federal investigation. Castillo says knowledge of the alleged CIA-Contra drug link not only involved the CIA and the DEA, but also the number 2 man at the White House, Vice President George Bush. Castillo says he met then Vice President Bush in January 1986 at the U.S. ambassador's residence in El Salvador. Castillo says he mentioned the Contra drug running to Bush, but that the vice president declined to respond. Bush, who also served as CIA director in the 70s, has said he was unaware of any CIA-Contra drug connection. The CIA, which is conducting one of 4 federal probes into the allegations, wouldn't address Castillo's claims. However, the agency maintains it has uncovered no solid evidence showing the CIA participated in or condoned drug trafficking. Castillo says investigators can just read his book, Powder Burns.
I do think that he's a very valuable person.
Congresswoman Maxine Waters believes there's much to learn from Castillo about the DEA.
I think Celerino helps us to understand who they are and how they operate and the kinds of things that have been going on in the DEA that will help us to understand their role in all of this.
The CIA drug allegations surfaced last summer in a series of published newspaper reports. The articles allege that during the 80s, a San Francisco drug ring smuggled cocaine from Central America to the Bay Area and then sold it to gangs in Los Angeles, funneling the drug profits to the Contras in Nicaragua. All that while agents like Celerino Castillo fought to stem the tide of drugs in the U.S. The 47-year-old retired DEA agent says he's now fighting his third war.
The most dangerous war is the criminals within my own government that were involved in this massive cover-up. And it's called obstruction of justice.
That idea does not surprise some people in communities from Los Angeles to New York City, which have felt the devastation of crack.
It's too much drugs in the country itself for it to just be coming from just us. It's got to be coming from a higher authority.
106 is the time. Madison with you.
For the last month, Joe Madison has devoted every edition of his daily Washington, D.C. talk show to this story.
It just is mind-boggling, which leads me to believe that there's just massive cover-up in high places and probably in Congress, too.
Also in Washington, more than 1,200 people attended a recent town hall meeting to discuss the allegations. And on Friday, law students protested on Capitol Hill. Yesterday in Los Angeles, another community meeting drew over 1,000 people.
Every person in this room is committed to one thing: stopping cocaine from coming into our community and finding out who's responsible.
And on the internet, the newest pipeline into the African American community, the response has been overwhelming. There are more than 100,000 inquiries a day into the San Jose Mercury News website, which outlines the newspaper's charges that CIA-backed Contra leaders raised money by bringing massive amounts of cocaine into the United States. The newspaper's most devastating charge, that cocaine, originally from Colombia, was sold at bargain basement prices to a Los Angeles drug dealer, who was the first to mass-produce and distribute it as crack. And because crack is cheap and highly addictive, it spread quickly in poor urban areas.
If your mother was an addict, you lost guidance. If your father was locked up, you lost protection. If your brother was dealing, you lived in fear. If your neighbor was smoking, your block was in chaos. Everybody was affected. Nobody escaped. The soundtrack of that era is sirens, funerals, and empty homes. The block got hot with dealers competing for corners. The alleys were filled with users chasing their necks high. The jails were packed with young black men caught in the system. The funerals were packed with young black teenagers who never made it to adulthood. This wasn't just a drug, it was a divide. It split generations, it split families. It split the whole community. Mothers stopped being mothers because the pipe took their soul. Fathers stopped being fathers because addiction robbed them of their strength. Children stopped being children because they were forced to provide. The household was flipped inside out and nobody knew how to heal it. You had 13-year-olds putting food on the table. With that kind of power came ego and conflict when a teenager tells his father, "You can't tell me what to do, I pay the bills in here." Once respect is gone inside the home, it don't come back. Without respect, the community has no order. Now, add the violence that came with it. Drug turf wars, robberies, shootouts, all connected to this drug. We didn't just lose people to addiction, we lost them to bullets. We didn't just lose people to crack houses, we lost them to prison cells. Smoke it and lose yourself. Sell it and lose your freedom. Either way, the community paid the price. Crack didn't come from us. Cocaine didn't grow in Harlem or Compton. It was brought there. CIA, the FBI, the government all played a role. There are documents, testimonies, and evidence that cannot be ignored. It is believed that the CIA allowed crack to flood black neighborhoods. Why? Because they needed money to fund wars overseas, and the pipelines led straight to our streets. Think about the timing. Right after the Black Panther Party was destroyed, the Panthers fed children, protected blocks, and organized the community. The government declared them a threat, and once they were gone, crack arrived. Militants were replaced with addicts. Organizers were replaced with dealers. Leaders were replaced with inmates. A community that once stood proud was now on its knees. This wasn't just about getting high. This was chemical warfare, and the strategy worked because once the family is broken, the future is broken. Once the elders lose respect, the culture loses its foundation. Once the community loses hope, it stops growing. The aftershocks are still here today. You see it in broken homes and you see generational trauma. You see it in prisons filled with black men who grew up during the crack era. You see it in the neighborhoods that have never recovered. Crack didn't just destroy the present, it damaged the future. And we don't never need to forget that. Like, comment, subscribe. Establish Rich. I'll be back with another one. Peace.